That made quite a mark on me. And when I was on staff later in AOLA in 1980 to 1986, I worked very hard to try to help those children. We had round-robin nurseries. We did everything we could, but senior management stopped it. In 1985, and this is where the history goes for these abortions, in 1985, the CMO, the Commodore's Messengers, did a survey on the Sea Org members worldwide to find out whether they felt children were necessary for the expansion of Scientology. What loaded questions? The survey found out that they weren't, and therefore didn't see any value in children. The situation got worse. It finally worked up to be the exec esto AOLA, and I walked up in front of the staff one day, and I said, I need your help. I want you to volunteer not to have children. Volunteer for 1 year not to have children. There's no penalties. This is not an order. I want you to volunteer so we can get nannies, so we can fix up the child care center, so we can get things right without children constantly pouring in. The staff willingly did it. 6 months later, it was made policy across the board, across the Sea Org. It was no longer a voluntary program. It was never rescinded, and people were punished if they had children. Now what's that all about? How does that correct the situation? Thousands of murdered babies? What's wrong with this picture? Can you guys see what's wrong with this picture? I hope so. I was on the RPF. Let's talk about the abuses of the RPF. Voluntary program? How dare you say that? Is there any RPFer who volunteers to go to the RPF? How dare you say they voluntarily sign away all the rights that they have as a citizen of a free country? How dare you make these claims? I was physically forced by 6 grown men to the RPF. I had my belongings taken out of my berthing. Golden age of scholarship. My son was illegally taken from me. I had sole custody. He was illegally taken to me by Church of Scientology executives and given to my ex-husband, who had him sleeping in the examiner's office while I was on the RPF, and insisted, yes, he's in a good place to stay. The only way I was able to spend time and see my son again was to route out of the RPF. It took an entire year. You have no right. This is abuse. This is neglect. My son is better than all of your kids together now, because he was raised outside of Scientology. He was raised outside of the Sea Org, and he is an achiever. I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of him because he went through that, and he made it, and he survived. I'm proud of every one of you that has the guts and the courage and the strength to walk out. You have personal integrity. You have rights. Scientology cannot set aside your legal rights. Scientology cannot set aside your rights to see your parents, to speak to them, to speak to your brothers and sisters, to raise your children, or to tell you what is right or wrong because you know what's right and wrong. You were lied to. I'm here because there are people that are still members there, that are still on staff, that I love. There is a long, long, long line of us all over the world. You can't take Aaron down, because when you try taking Aaron down, the next Sea Org member comes forth, and the next one comes forward, and the next one comes forward. You cannot beat us. We outnumber you. There's 98% of the people who are in Scientology are out of Scientology. 2.5% are in. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The ones that are sane are out. And we're here to come get the rest of you out. We care. We care. You don't have to be abused. Walk out. We'll help you. Thank you, everybody, for letting me have my say.
Just to say something additional to what Sheila was saying about children in the SO. I spent a couple of months as a nanny. There was a little boy in the nursery when I was there. He was 3 years old. He was full of life. He was bouncing all over the place. He was the most brightest and uptone little kid. His name was Aaron Pullen. Now, a few months ago, I happened to see something about Aaron Pullen on the internet. What happened is he grew up in Scientology, grew up in level orgs, and he joined the Commodore's Messenger Org, joined the CMO as a bright young teenager. Anyway, whatever he did, as teenagers do, he did something they didn't like, and he got booted out of the CMO into CC-Int in LA. And it was, because this was the only thing he had going in his life, he was so absolutely devastated that he took a dive out of the 6th floor windows of the building. Because that was his entire life, was basically thrown away. It's absolutely disgusting. These are kids. These are like what happens to your kids when they're raised in the Sea Org. It's really not okay. And I am here because I'm concerned about the people that are still in. The people that are in this building that are pretending not to listen to me, the ones that are bearing the heads, you don't want to hear what I have to say. We're here because of you. We're here because we care about you. Too many of my friends are dead. People that I worked with in the Sea Org that are dead in their 30s. Mothers with small children, dead. Because of lack of medical? Because they don't go to the doctor when they're sick? No, they may be on the RPF. They never get to do anything. They pull in cancer because of the long hours, the lack of care, the bad food. They don't see the doctor. Promises medical, it won't pay. These guys die. A very close friend of mine died. She had 2 small children. She was OT5, she's a class 9 auditor. Her name was Jill Graham. She went to the RPF for God knows what they thought she did wrong, and she died. Another one, Beth Marr, she was ED in Edmonton Org. She was financed her for West US for years. She was very, very good at her job. She did something somebody didn't like, went to the RPF. She died. You guys need to wake up. You guys really need to have a look at what you're doing to yourselves and what you're doing to your children. There's a world out here. Life is good on the outside. Don't be scared. We will help you. You walk out that door, we will give you all the help you need to get set up in the real world.
And you can do it right now.
And you can do it right now. Anyway, I'm going to pass this microphone over to the next Ex-Sea Org member.
I have been silent for 17 years now because I've been afraid, because every Sea Org member, every staff member knows what happens if you criticise Scientology. And do we want that shit? No, we don't. You know,